Alright, Honeycomb Crunch. Honeycomb Crunch. So this is a it's a small game I made last week as part of a talk that I gave on using the Godot engine to make games. And yeah, it was the talk went well, and didn't have a huge turnout, but the people who were there were definitely engaged. Yeah, I reused the B from Honeycomb Crunch from Hive Time. So I guess for having two games that start with H, I'm not a very smart developer. But yeah, I reused the B. Everything else is new or from scratch. All the audio is Creative Commons stuff. Hey, Daisy Chain Cosplay, how you doing? I am just showing off a little game I made last week. And yeah, the idea behind it was making a small project that I could do a code walkthrough as part of the talk. But yeah, we're gonna dive in and have a bit of a go. So the controls are joystick-like in that you have like a maximum range that's quite narrow, and you sort of set the angle and pitch of the B, and that determines what your resulting movement is going to be, rather than giving some absolute coordinates to move in, or a direction to move in, or or you're like having like mouse movement, like you don't have to like push heaps, you just move a small amount, and your entire range of motion is just this little circle here. I think if I was making this into a bigger game, I would have that communicated a bit more clearly, and perhaps have an optional like visual representation of that that kind of thing. But yeah, I really, it's most of the games I make are sort of narrative-based adventure game things, and rather than kind of mechanically driven things. So I don't often have the opportunity to make a game where I would. I don't know. I don't often make gameplay heavy games, which is it's not a big deal, and that's not a bad thing. But I find myself playing this when I'm meant to be working, and this is kind of unusual for me. Yeah, there was like a couple of days ago, there was a thing where I was meant to like write a Patreon post or something, and I'd planned to do that in the morning, and I just spent hours flying around picking up pollen as this bee. But yeah, so this kind of, as I said, it sort of grew out of a need to have a project that I could pull apart and talk about. And since I was doing that kind of thing, I also decided to release the source code as well. So it's all up online. The concept came about while we were brainstorming for what we should make for the jam that we made Hive Time for. And one of the ideas was pretty much this sort of thing, like avoid descending asteroids and time the gaps between stuff as it moves. As we were making Hive Time and we're doing like the cells and stuff, I was like, wow, like these hexagons have like a cool feel to them. It would be kind of fun to have that same feel. But yeah, have them tumbling through space. And then that in itself was inspired by this old Amiga game that I used to play called Swooper, which is kind of like like Galaxians or Galaga, where you've got like a ship at the bottom of the screen, you shoot a whole bunch of enemies and stuff. But in between those were these kind of bonus missions where you had to like navigate, you had to navigate a an asteroid field and optionally rescue these stranded astronauts. It was a little bit slower paced than this, and it definitely wasn't the focus of the game. Like the focus of the game was like shooting up the baddies. But I really enjoyed these little moments of like, you know, you had like a really slow moving ship, and a lot of it was about, you know, just identifying and watching and working out the emergent patterns of the asteroid movement. And yeah, so sort of building on that and seeing if I could turn that concept into something that would support an entire game, even if it's a small one, was sort of the challenge I set for myself. And again, since I'm playing this enough that it's disrupting my ability to get things done, I feel like I accomplished that. Woo! It's a fun feeling when you're like weaving through the hexagons and looking at chat instead of the game. Another thing I did was these different backgrounds and stuff. They're just particle effects, right? I knocked together this kind of cloud texture early on. It's the same texture that's the nebula in the space background. It's nothing fancy. The leaves that are blowing in the background of this environment were the first sprite that I made for the petals when the flowers explode. I think I just put a stem on them and then let them tumble through space. But when it transitions into the next environment, I do something a little bit different. Instead of having like a slow-moving background that feels distant, I made a background that's quite close and hopefully feels like it's moving quite fast. Because it appears to be moving in a different direction to the other backgrounds, it gives the hexagons a sense of being faster than they otherwise are, and I think that kind of like adjustment period is, you know, where you're getting where you're getting used to that is interesting. Interesting to me anyway. Brown. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pause. Oh yeah, when you pause, the title screen animates on whatever background you've got, which is kind of nice. Yeah, I painted this bee as well, and the crunch text. Wasn't really expecting to. I was like, just had this idea of like, I've never really done that kind of painting before. I was like, I probably won't be able to do it, but I'll just do a little bit of a scribble, and it came out. You know, I see lots of things that I would change in it if I was redoing it, but yeah, generally speaking, I'm really happy with how it came out. And then yeah, once it gets to the end of this stage, it just loops back into the first one a bit faster. At the end of every stage, the speed slows down a bunch. By like about half a stage worth of speed, so you kind of get a sense of you know, overcoming a hurdle, surviving a crescendo, and then things are slightly more manageable than they previously were, and then they ramp up to be greater than it was before. So ideally, you feel like you've accomplished something. But it's definitely a game where you're not expected to survive more than a couple minutes, and that's just how long a run lasts. It's tricky to communicate. Bam! It's tricky to communicate in a game like this that it has no end, and since it gets increasingly difficult, it is impossible. You know, in the sense that you know, whatever level you're playing at, there's always a harder difficulty beyond that you will not. You know, there will be difficulty thresholds that you will never cross. And for that to feel acceptable is something that I I think a game would have to do a little bit more work in terms of framing expectations and making players feel rewarded than I'm currently doing here. Which, you know, I'm not super fussed about. It's a good thing to think about, and I am thinking about, you know, how I would go about doing that in another game. But for the purposes of this, which was just an example thing to you know, show how I make games, it's definitely doing enough. Meow, 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 meow. I was toying with the idea as well of... Yeah, no worries, thanks for dropping by. Hope a game looks interesting. See, I was toying with this idea of having power-ups as well that you could collect, and they might give you the ability to, you know, dodge sideways quickly by a certain amount or something, or speed up by a certain amount. Like this idea of like allowing you to make a gap that you normally would feel not very comfortable making. Come on, no, too slow. Yeah, I'll get around those. I'm also thinking of shortening up the B collision box so that when you make a you know, where there's a tight gap and you're swinging past something, if you catch your bum on it, like, it'll let you make it. Because I think it's more interesting to have close calls that you make than close calls that you don't make. So important to like still convey like a sense of risk, and make sure that the risk is real. So you know, you can still headbutt stuff and that'll kill you. But the idea of just giving you that flexibility of like, you know, if you're squeezing through a tight gap and your bum clips something, then you're good. I like that the pollen isn't automatically picked up. So you've got to kind of, you know, it gravitates towards you, but you... That wasn't very smart. But you've got to work with it, you know, like you've got to actually pick it up. And I do love it when a hexagon like warps in from the other side of the galaxy to smash it real fast. But yeah, I like that, that you've got to maneuver in a way that allows you to pick up the pollen, because that gives you something else to pay attention to. You know, like if you're deciding to prioritize collecting pollen, then you know, just popping the flowers isn't enough. You've got to make sure that you're there. Bam, there to grab the pollen as it you know, flies around and stuff. Not doing very good in this run. Yeah, just like something else to make the process of moving around more technical and more interesting when things get tense. I think is like a cool thing to have. Oh hey Nevik, how you doing? No, I made this game because I had to give a tutorial on making games, and I wanted a small project that I could just do a code walkthrough of in, you know, within an hour or two. Yeah. See, thinking about power-ups, it was more the things that I was thinking about were it might be cool to let you oh yeah, the hairband thing, yeah. With my cool B antennae. Yeah, the power-ups thing was always like, I don't want to take focus away from being about avoiding the obstacles. But I did also want to have, and you know, this is the thing about game development, is you have ideas early on that may or may not be a good fit for the project as a whole. And you know, early on, and when I was thinking about the title screen, when I was thinking about the name, I was like, okay, so you got these hexagons that you have to avoid, like the ones we have here. That's fine, but it would be kind of interesting if you had these hollow hexagons, like with the light bit here didn't exist, and you could fly through them. for some kind of bonus, and my thought was that they would be full of honey and you would like fly through the honey, and that would make you briefly invulnerable or something, so you could like fly into the hexagons and push them around. But then I also wanted to have these other corrupted hexagons, which would have this like purple effect on them, like the word crunch here. And if you got too close to them, they would explode with a wide blast radius. And I think those two, like combination of like an invulnerability for performing like a difficult maneuver, combined with like area denial type stuff, would be an interesting addition. But as the game came together, I'm like, I don't think it necessarily needs that. Like, I think it's got enough substance as it is, and if I put those things in, I would definitely want to change the pacing a lot. So instead of like having an even difficulty progression, that it would kind of reset the speed and difficulty as each new thing was introduced, and that in itself makes it a lot longer and a lot more different kind of game than it is. Not that that's necessarily bad, it's just not the direction that I went in. Yeah, in my mind it's a she. As I was saying earlier, when I look at it, I see lots of things that I would change. There's a leg missing. I wanted the hands to look like this kind of like flanging thing, but this hand came out as like a human hand, and that really bugs me. What is the X? Or is this like the pollen that the bee is reaching for? It's meant to be like the pollen in the game, except the pollen in the game doesn't glow. Yet, oh, on the chest, I don't know, just some insignia. I was like, oh, I'll put it like a hexagon on there. I was like, a hexagon's too plain, I'll just put an X in it. Man, the X-Men thing goes in a circle. What are you talking about? Miriam said it looked like X-Men stuff. I was like, pfft. I didn't see it. No, it's not. It's in a circle. Or did they change stuff for the movies or something? Yeah, it's a hexagon on the B. It's a circle in X-Men. Hang on, I'm gonna bring up the menu. It's meant to be a hexagon. It's got pointy corners. My friend John suggested it needed a zip, so I put a zip in. I didn't have one before. So yeah, it all came together real fast. Like, I started it on a Thursday, Thursday after lunch, and by the time I went to bed on Thursday, it was playable, which was cool. And then I spent Friday I spent Friday making the menus and stuff, and then ended up spending 6 hours painting that bee. Which is sort of not really what I wanted to do with the time that I had available. But I did enjoy painting the bee, so that's what matters. As long as you enjoy the process of making stuff. Have you played this yet, Nevik? Woo! Yeah. Oh, you haven't? Well, it's out. It's free. And there's source code available, so if you want to like see the insides of it, you can. Whee! Smash. Also works with gamepad. Oh, goodness. Wait, what? Okay. Oh, weird. That's stupid. Steam is dumb. Okay, so pressing pressing the like the middle button on my gamepad and one of the joysticks, because I just happened to pick it up that way, was adjusting like the volume and stuff on my computer. Whoops. Yeah, funny that. Yeah, so you can fly around with the gamepad. Bream. I don't like it because gamepads make me feel uncomfortable. Actually, you know what? I had been meaning. Oh, good times. There's another joystick that I want to check out, so I might. Hey, I'm Geordie LaForge. So, the original game that this was kind of inspired by, I used to play with a joystick on Amiga, so I'm kind of interested in seeing whether or not how it feels with an actual joystick if I use that. So, yep, gonna need to close the game. Yoink. Unplug that bullshit. Plug in this awesome thing. Alright. This is a Logitech ST90. It's very cheap and simple. Like, it folds up. It's my travel joystick. So you fold the legs down and then the bottom clips in. And voila! A joystick. Self-centering. Only 2 axes on this one. Oh, it's kind of dusty. Alright, let's run the game again. And let me put this on top. And run that. And do that. And OBS has already automatically picked it up. Very nice. Okay, so yeah, sweet. Vroom, vroom, look at that, that's awesome. Just put that trigger finger away. I don't need to. It's got no shooting, so there's no need to. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Whee! Alright. Yeah, this is sweet. Playing with a joystick. Except it's wobbling my desk and it's probably making my camera quite lumpy or bumpy or something. But yeah, so in addition to like making this little game and releasing source code for it, I also made note of some of the you know, a couple of engine bugs that I encountered along the way. And last night I submitted a pull request for the first of those, and this morning it was merged. So this project has resulted in the engine being improved as well. So that's pretty exciting. Lots of cool positive outcomes from making a cool little game. Lego Island. I have not heard of that. The engine is the Godot engine, or Godot engine, Godot engine. Bam! I have not timed that well. I was thinking about it. I don't know if I'll. I mean, like, I feel like I'm done with this game. Like, I don't need to do any further work on it, and I have many other projects that need my time. But if I, you know, when the next version of Godot gets released and I can remove some of my dodgy workarounds from the code base, maybe I'll come back and do some changes. I was thinking one of the changes that I might do is make it so that you can't hit a hexagon from the side. Like, if you try to, it'll just stop you, and that way, if you've like managed to fit yourself into a tiny gap, you don't necessarily have to you don't have to hold it super accurately to get through. Like, I think making it into the hole is enough. Hey-oh. Ah. Yeah, I really like. I get a lot of enjoyment out of making those close calls. Yeah. Nope. So yeah. Bam. Lost my train of thought there. You play as one of the criminals that escaped his Lego jail. Wow. There's racing and helicopter flying. Exciting. So, yeah, I wanted to have like some kind of like saving and loading stuff. Since it's such a short game, it didn't make sense to save the game state at all. You know, like, yeah, I because it ramps up quite quickly and gets fairly difficult, allowing you to like just save a game means that you would come back and not have the momentum of playing up to that point, and so I don't think you would be as prepared to continue from that point, and that's kind of not great. So yeah, saving the game state doesn't make sense, because the moment that you resumed, you would just die because you're not in the zone, right? So excuse me. So I made like a little score thing. I don't really think that high scoreboards are really useful. But what I do think is like historical values are useful. So you can go, oh, you know, I had a great day today. You know, I had some good scores up here. I did have one thing where I wasn't paying attention and I died really early. But yeah, I like the idea of seeing like recent history, because your historic scores are transient, right? Like, ideally you're going to play a game a lot, and you're only going to have one best score. Eventually, you know, like you'll your first few times you'll be pushing that boundary quite a bit, but after that you're going to get to a point where you got lucky once, and you got the most amazing score you're ever going to get, and you're never going to top that. It's more interesting to see how you're doing on the kind of like smaller scale, where the individual fluctuations become more relevant. So presenting like a score history. This is the last 20 runs. The yellow line is your excuse me, is your score, and the blue line is the amount of time that you spent. So in this one, I prioritized collecting pollen and got a higher score than the time that I lasted. Hang on a sec. Excuse me. Yeah, so I tried to make it so that if you ignored pollen, you could still get a high score, because you get a score like a bonus for time. But I think the time bonus is too small for a lot of players to feel like ignoring pollen is worthwhile. But yeah, it's interesting to draw like a little graph, and also to be able to put in the code to show how to do that. But yeah, I'm really happy to be playing this with the joystick. It makes me super happy. I'd been meaning to do it for well, since I started working on it, I guess. But it's one of those things where, you know, it's do I get this extra bit of work done, or do I stop and get out my joystick and have fun? And I'm kind of like, well, you know, I'm just going to play this one game and then go back to work and end up playing 20 runs. But at the time, like, if I was going to stop, I'd just get back to work rather than getting my joystick out. Yeah, we were thinking of making like a yeah, when we were deciding what we were going to make for the jam that we made Hive Time for, we were thinking about making a Flappy Bird type thing. But instead of being about like precision, come on, you could get it, you can't get it. Instead of being about precision timing, it would be about managing stamina, and so you could rest and stuff. This bee is great at parties. It eats all the flowers. That's what you need at parties, right? So the music is one of Kevin MacLeod's Creative Commons licensed pieces. It's called Super Friendly, I think. For a larger project, I would have like composed some music or whatever, but I wanted to get something together fast, without spending a lot of time or money. Like, I didn't have a budget at all. So yeah, just kind of whacked it together. The pollen sound is another Creative Commons licensed thing that I found on Open Game Art. When I die, I will go back to the menu and we'll look at the credits. But yeah, that's one sound that is increased in pitch. The faster you get pollen, the faster the pitch increases. If you take too long between getting one piece of pollen and the next, it'll drop the pitch. So you kind of get this cool rising effect when you're collecting pollen quickly, and it drops back down if you're not getting it that fast. The balloon popping sound is a public domain sound that I got from, I think I got it from Freesound, but I used that in Tiny Chopper Raceway, which was the last example Godot project I released, back when Godot 2 was nice and new. And the explosion sound effect is from that as well. But yeah, everything else is made by me. All the background sprites and models and. Hey Metadog, how you doing? I'm just playing a little game I made last week called. I'm definitely not very practiced at doing this with the joystick, but that was a whole bunch of fun. I'm glad that that's in there. Oh yeah, sweet. So this is Honeycomb Crunch. The other game is called Hive Time. I made the mistake of naming both games something starting with H, which means that I mix up the names all the time. Drives me nuts. Yeah, so the credits. Yeah, I did everything. So far, nobody else has contributed anything. I don't know if it needs anything, but it's open source, and if anybody throws a pull request at me, I'll definitely consider it. So you know, leaving room there. These are all my lovely Patreon supporters who've supported me in so many of them. It's very very touching to see all of these lovely people believe in me enough to want to support me in making things. So yeah, Super Friendly is the music that I used. Dimbo is the font here, which is cool. Bang 04 Clean by Elky is the explosion sound. Sorry, is the balloon sound. HQ Explosion by Quaker 540 is the explosion sound, and then GUI sound effect 031 by Gelastrum is the pollen collection sound. Yeah. Yeah, I just, it's, as I said, it's very rare for me to have a game. It's very rare for me to have a game where I just enjoy playing it, or where I can't stop playing it, I guess. I mean, I enjoy playing all my games, but yeah, I rarely have one where I will not be able to stop playing. Yep. And as I mentioned earlier, I submitted a pull request for one of the bugs that I found while making this game, and that's already been merged. So it's still continuing to get better. I'm not going to make that one, am I? Nope. Whee! I was also thinking about, like, it could be kind of cool to have like a boss kind of thing where you're guiding the bee. Oh, was not paying attention there. We're guiding a bee through a like a large structure or something. So instead of avoiding individual falling things, you're avoiding the structure of whatever you're flying around inside of. So that might be like a giant kite, or it might be and I don't know. I hadn't really put much thought in that, but yeah. Again, if I was making this into a bigger game, that would be something that I'd be considering. Whee! Oh, you like the bee icons in the top right? That's the other thing. Aside from the bee model, that's the other thing that I didn't make specifically for this. That was made for Hive Time originally. Why do the bees explode? Okay, so in my eyes, the way that death is treated in games is enormously ham-fisted, to the point that it's stupid and comical, and so whenever I put death in a game, it is stupid and comical in that way. You know, like until we have treating the impact of death with the gravitas that we treat it with in real life, I will think that that death in games is dumb, and will make fun of it at every opportunity. So that's what that's all about. Is it a robot bee? I like to think that it's like a normal bee wearing like a cool tech suit. Let's bring up the menu and we'll look at the bee. So there's definitely some kind of helmet being worn here, and some kind of like jumpsuit thing. We've got like solid wings, so they're like not bee wings, I guess, and these cool shoulder pads. But the arms and legs look like they could be like normal carapace, and the antennae could be normal antennae, I guess. But yeah, in my mind, it's like a bee wearing a cool tech suit. Like a game where if you have to kill someone, characters like, what have I done? I mean, not necessarily, not just like that. But like we never see the impact of death on the world or the people within the world. Like, not just for you as the character to feel remorse, but for the world to be affected by death in a way that mirrors the relationship that we have with death in real life. What we have is an attempt by people to go, oh well, here's something that's very big and impactful and obviously bad, which is easy to gravitate towards, but ultimately it leaves you nowhere to go. In terms of a consequence, death is like the silliest starting point that you could have, because you can't do anything worse than that. Or if you start going, what's a fate worse than death? Like there's so much room for nuance in other things that you're cutting yourself off from exploring. And I think the only reason that we, collectively speaking, do it is because that's what the not so great storytellers of our past, in terms of, you know, like from the 60s and 70s and 80s, were attempting. You know, they were like, oh, we can try and do something that's emotionally resonant, or we can try and do something that feels like the stakes are high, without really having the experience at structuring stories and at structuring stakes to make that, you know, meaningful. So we end up with a whole stack of meaningless death being the normal way to express things, if that makes sense. And you know, most of the times that I talk about this, I have people go, "Oh, but death is something we all understand," and I'm like, well, let's ignore that. You've just overlooked how I've talked about this not being the death that we know and understand. But ultimately, how many of us here have died? I mean, death is not a common thing for us to experience directly as individuals. You only get to have that experience once, and not many people talk about it afterward, right? So that kind of defense of death is something that we all immediately get, like death as a consequence for our actions, is not true. That's completely not true, and is evidenced by the reckless nature of human behavior. People drive around without their seatbelts and think that they have more chance of winning the lottery than getting hit by a bus. You know, like it's an interesting thing. I think most people are just comfortable with it because it's normal, or has been normalized within the medium, rather than because it's like consciously a good choice to make or a good direction to go. So there you go. There's my little rant on death in games and why the death in this is so over the top silly. And there you go, I did it again. I was sort of thinking, oh, maybe I should keep this a small stream, I should wrap it up. But no, I'm just playing more. That's sweet. If I was doing more development, I think I'd add like a seeded mode. I'd probably put some more smarts into like how and where the hexagons are spawned, so that you get more interesting opportunities to have particular types of movements that you want to do, and make gaps that are exciting and feel cool to slip through more common. You know, like I think I'll put effort into that kind of just directing the experience and crafting things in a way that would lead more towards that kind of thing happening. But yeah, I think like a seeded mode would be cool as well, and then I could have like seed based on the current date. Then you got a daily challenge, which is cool. I dig daily challenges. In a dream, hang on, your wife saw a dream. She needed to pay and had cheese in her wallet. Well, that's not something that happens every day, but I think when you have the cheese dream, you're finally you're moving on to the next phase of your existence, I think. The cheese dream. I don't think I'd be able to pay for stuff with cheese. I think I'd just eat it. Woo. So the source code is like as I said, you know, I made this mostly over one day, and even though I've given it a bit of extra polish and a bit of extra content, beyond that, it was such a cool gap. Beyond that initial thing, there's still a lot of room for the game to do things differently or better, or you know, definitely lots of room for improvement, and that's fine. But I think as like goodness me. I think it's like a core experience. I think the core experience is there, you know, like that's fairly solid. But in the interests of having a thing that will encourage people to learn or develop skills, I think having something that is still a little bit rough, something that you can look at and you can go, I can see how I would improve this, using the skills that I have. I think that's the most important thing, empowering thing that you can have from a learning resource, I think. And to that end, the code has a bunch of the code has a bunch of like to-do items in it. You know, things like put labels on this graph, and unlabeled graphs are a bad thing, so there's something you can do. Or if you go to the main menu and you make things full screen, the B is visible at the bottom before it comes up. Hang on, let's go, new game. Oh yeah, and yeah, there it is. Boink. That's not right. So yeah, like fade those things in so that they're not visible, or move them further away so that they behave better at full screen. Or make the stage thing centered when it's full screen. All that needs to do is just call the update position function whenever the screen dimensions are changed. That stuff's easy. But it's stuff that I could spend, you know, another week just tidying little bits and pieces here. But leaving some of those rough edges in, if that encourages people to like sit down and experiment and explore whether or not they can do those fixes on their own, then that seems a lot more valuable than me spending the time doing it. You know, if that encourages people to actually start doing things and making things, then fantastic. Would the spicy meatball have a wallet? It's a good question. I'm gonna imagine that in the spicy meatball universe, I wanna say that like superheroes probably wouldn't carry around wallets and things. You know, obviously they could fall into the wrong hands. But I do like the idea of like a superhero standing at like a kebab shop, fiddling around trying to get change out. Like that's fun. I like that. Spicy meatball is interesting. I really enjoy seeing the way that people interpret that. In my mind, it's a superhero, like a human superhero, whose name is the spicy meatball. But in some people's minds, it's a literal spicy meatball that is a superhero. And I'm like, cool. You know, if that's the experience you had, that's totally real, and that's exactly what it is for you. But it's quite amusing, this idea of a meatball being a superhero. Pew. I gotta get back to work on Spicy Meatball 2 when I get some time. Looking forward to getting that second game up and happening. Woohoo! Wow! We're gonna get you. So every 100 pollen you get a new life, and you're like animating the lives icon when you get or lose a life is like another one of those things. Like, I don't want to say like just obvious things that you could add or do. Maybe they're obvious if you've got a bit of experience with this kind of stuff, but if you don't, you know, it seems like it's a little bit belittling to say that it is obvious. But yeah, one of those small easy things that you could do that would enhance the experience, animating the life icons there. In the very first version, it was just a number. but I kind of dig. Oh, bam! There we go. Alright, what kind of stuff am I missing here in the in chat? Is there a cheat button? No, there is no cheat button. I've got lots of cheats in Hivetime because I think there's value in allowing people to test stuff, but for this one, no, I think it's a short enough experience that that you know you get to see everything pretty quick and get up to everything pretty quick. You jumped over a game idea. Yeah, add it to your list of game ideas. Is always good to do that. I try not to add everything to my list. Excuse me a second. I try to make sure that, you know, I've thought about it. I'm like, if I'm only going to get to make, you know, 100 games in my life, then which 100 games do I want that to be? And sort of use that to make sure that I'm only adding the things that I'm specifically excited about to my list. But it grows at like 1 or 2 a month usually, so much faster than I make games. Yeah, it's interesting, but I think it's always good to put those ideas down and let them exist, at least in a to-do list where you can think about them, because if you ever do get the opportunity to make them, you've thought about them a little bit, and I think the more that you've thought about an idea before you start doing it, the stronger it'll be. I didn't have any ideas for this game specifically, but since it was inspired by something I used to do, I used to play a lot of. In fact, maybe I'll switch over to that. Yeah, let's do that. Just bear with me a bit while I just gonna bring up my Amiga emulator, which you guys don't need to see. Where are we gonna get that? Okay. That one, and we will insert this game called Swooper. Where are we? Media, stuff, binaries, Amiga. There it is. Where did I see it? Okay. Alright, let's switch over to that. So, goodbye Honeycomb Crunch. Oh, hello, by email. Let's try this one. There it is. Nice. Let's make that as big as we can. Woo. That'll do. Oh yeah, I keep all the ideas down. My list is a lot bigger than 100, but yeah, I like always try and think about that. Like, what do I want to actually make? What do I want to do with my time? I don't know how loud this is going to be. It might be a bit loud. That's awesome, Ticklish Honeybee. I look forward to seeing what you make. If you need or want to bounce ideas around, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to talk through ideas with other developers. A turn-based MMO, hey? So, one thing... Oh, there we go. Let's just turn that down a little. Alright, so this is the game. It's from 1987. It's called Swooper. Oh, hang on. Is it F6 was play? Hey. So I'm playing this with a number pad. So you can only have like 5 bullets out at a time. I suck. So the idea is that when you destroy an enemy, it has a chance to create a like a little shield thing, and the shields reflect your bullets back down at you. So that's his gimmick, like, is the whole shield thing, I think. Oh, and this health thing, the enemies can steal that, and if they do, then that's bad. But here we go. Here's that bonus stage I was talking about. So we'll speed up a little. And your ship moves pretty slow, so you gotta be mindful of these gaps and things. You can speed up and slow down. This is something that I had thought about putting in Honeycomb Crunch originally, but I like the idea of it speeding up automatically. So yeah, you kind of gotta time your gaps. It gets more difficult. This first one is always pretty easy. Let's speed up a bit. Rain. But I liked the idea of just increasing the speed automatically in Honeycomb Crunch, so that you know, you hit a point that it's difficult. You'll always hit a point where you're overstretching your abilities, and that's where I think it's most interesting. But yeah, this game, like, it's not super amazing, but I enjoyed it. But I really loved this this space thing. Was my favorite bit, always my favorite bit. And it's such a small fleeting part of the game. I don't know why this one is going on so long. Oh, it lasts for a certain amount of time. Okay, so if I was going real slow, like this, you have 60 seconds worth of time, or less. I don't know. But yeah, normally I only see one astronaut. This one's super tough. Like these circle cog things shoot a yeah, when they die, they shoot a thing that's gonna kill me. I haven't really worked out how to deal with that yet. Uh-oh. So I guess I want to run into that bullet. That's not great. Let's try again. Ah, come on. Alright, we got one life left. Okay, so I want to just zip out. Hey, there we go. So I guess what I have to do is, like, let those get low. Yeah, I just got to move away from it at the last second. That's okay. All right, we can handle that. That was not smart. Ah ha ha ha! I shot myself. Good times. Good times. Alright, hang on. What else have we got going on in chat? You move, then wait for thousands of other players to move. Been totally coding this year, don't know why. I used to code all the time, but haven't really had an interest for some reason. Yeah, look, it comes and it goes. I think a lot of it's about, or at least for me, a lot of it's about momentum. And if I have time away from projects, it takes me, you know, there's a hurdle involved in getting back up to speed and getting back on that horse. But I think it's also important to take those breaks and take that time off, so that you can have some human experiences and grow a little bit and express those human experiences through your work. So it's important to find that balance. I wouldn't feel bad about taking some time off if that's what's naturally happening. You like little astronauts? Enter my initials. I don't even remember where we like press up and down. No, left and right. Oh, hang on. I'm typing into the chat window. Hey, well, that's close enough. Yeah, so that's the game. We'll have another go. But yeah, I used to play this with a joystick. I could try and set up my my joystick with die, son. But yeah, I like this idea of like the playing field gets more difficult to use as you play. Kind of the inverse of yeah, this red rock here looks a bit like a heart. That's true. Like the inverse of Space Invaders, where you know sometimes you end up shooting through your barricades in the course of shooting the mans. But in this case, shooting the mans makes barricades for the mans, so that's interesting. Interesting spin on that stuff. I'm gonna save you, little man. Uh-oh. Hey, there we go. Hey. Yeah, I think if I was doing Honeycomb Crunch or something bigger, I would have a Zen mode where you just play at whatever speed you want for as long as you want. But I think that core experience, having that framed around pushing you as far as you can go, I think that makes the most amount of sense to me, at least, and is closest to what I wanted to explore and express as a designer. But yeah, like mechanically, the asteroids and the hexagons are the same thing. There's not really that much difference between the flowers and the astronauts that you got to save. But I think that they do manifest as different games, and that's interesting too. Ah, come on! I made that gap between those falling bullets. Dear. Alright, so we got a thing coming in, and then we just zip out of the way at the last minute. Nice. Ah. We could do this. Maybe. I don't think we can do this. I certainly can't do this. Someone else can do this though. I believe in whoever else does this. Alright, we got a thing coming in. Yep. Nice. What? Yeah, so they have these little tractor beams that they suck up that health potion with. If the health potion lives, I think I get to live another day. Oh. Just die. Yeah, okay, so that one's got my thing. What? You're not allowed to dodge my shots. Ah, fruit. Well, we got a lot closer that time, hey. But we didn't get as many astronauts. Oh, okay. I was like, I don't think we're going to get a decent score. But yeah, that's the game that inspired good old Honeycomb Crunch. Don't really need that open anymore. Yeah, alright. Well, I think I'm going to wrap up the stream there. I'll set Honeycomb Crunch going again so that we have cool Honeycomb Crunch music. And the cool title screen visible. Yoink. Do 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 do. There we go. Yoink. Yeah. So I hope that's been interesting. I'm gonna play another game. I hope that's been interesting. Honeycomb Crunch is free. It's on my itch page. Right now, you can just go to honeycombcrunch.twolovebees.com if you want. That'll redirect you there. The source code is up on my GitLab account, which is gitlab.com/cheeseness. Oh, actually, do you guys want to see? Do you want to see some of the assets and things before I wrap up the stream, or are you good? Because I can open up a few things. Ah. What if you play in third person? This is not the game I made. You mean like have like a perspective that was immediately behind the bee? I think that would be a very different game. All the code is there, and it's open source, and the assets are there, and you can do whatever you want with them. So if that's the game you want to make, you can make that game. But it's not the game I wanted to make. Whee! Alright, I'm getting distracted. You guys said you wanted to see the see some other things. Let's switch over to. Hang on, let me clear up my desktop a little bit. It's very full of garbage. I don't need that. Need that. Don't need that. Alright, that's probably enough. Let's switch over to full screen stream. Oh, okay, well, this is interesting. Since I can't change the resolution on the fly, we're going to hang on. I'll just turn that off briefly, and then shrink it down and move it around a bit. And I mean, that's not amazing, but at least you can see the whole screen. There we go. That's my desktop, or one of my desktops. Yeah. So it's a little screenshot of stuff. Don't need the system monitor open. That's my control sign. I was thinking of putting like a little control screen in the game that said that like you can move with the mouse, you can move with the cursor keys, you can move with the gamepad. But this is based off the one that I made for Winter's Wake when I was exhibiting at PAX Australia, and I don't think I need to keep that, so let's get rid of that. We got anything else open here? No. So let's start with where are we? Let's go 2019 Honeycomb Crunch. We'll just go into the sprites folder and we'll check out everything that's in here that is a PNG. Alright. Exciting. As you can see, all the individual bits. So this is what the stars that are in the background of I'll just make a new. No. There we go. This is what the stars that are in the background of the first environment look like. They're very shrunk down, so you don't really notice what they are. I was also thinking of using it for like a glow for the pollen, but never got around to implementing that. This is the sparks that come out of the explosion when your bee explodes. There's like, I don't know, 12 of them or something. You only see them very briefly, but I think they give more of a sense of like there being something physical inside that is actually exploding. They end up being coloured. I think they start white and then they go to yellow and red real fast. So by the time you see them, they're usually yellow-orange. There's the shells from the third environment. This is the kind of murky depths texture for the third environment. Initially, I wanted to do like sand, and it was going to be on a beach, but yellow sand, yellow like cream-colored hexagons, yellow pollen. It wasn't working. So yeah, this is the petal texture when you touch a flower and the petals pop off and you get all the pollen. No, the shells are just in the background. This is the cloud texture that both the space background nebula and the sky clouds are made from. It's just one thing. I think I did 2 layers of clouds and then just increased the contrast a little bit and then added a mask and painted over the areas that I wanted to be more transparent than others. Yeah, just took like, I don't know, a minute, something small. This is the pollen component of the main menu. This is the honeycomb text component of the main menu. This is the crunch component of the main menu, and this is the bee component of the main menu. They're all 1024 by sorry, they're all 1920 by 1080. Because of the way that Godot handles anchors and scaling, if I wanted to have them all scale at the same rate and move at the same rate when the screen's resized, all the images had to be the same size. So it's a little bit irritating, but it worked out, and I'm pretty comfortable with it. So feeling good about it. That's the leaf texture that blows around in the sky background. This is like the entire explosion. Everything except for that sparks texture that we saw a second ago is just this. This here is it's either, I think it starts white, goes yellow, goes red, and then goes black, and just kind of spreads out, gets bigger as it does that, which gives that kind of explosion feel. The sea background has this bubble here. There's nothing super special about that. It's got a little glow on it, which is I don't know how much you see that. And then we also got this cool little bee icon with black outline. Initially, it didn't have the black outline, and that that made it look pretty hard. That was pretty hard to sort out. So I have as well this icon. This is the application icon that I made, which has a H and a C and like a hexagon on it, which is nice. Oh, actually, I saved an XCF of the thing. So I've got, yeah, okay. So this layer is just a normal layer that I've painted some black and stuff on, and some light stuff on. And then over the top is like a clouds layer that just gives us an extra bit of texture. This was painted with, I think this might have been a clouds thing as well that I like just increased the contrast of a lot. But yeah, that's all there is to that. What other things we got hiding in here? I'll find the title screen. Here it is. I guess I got to update this because the flowers don't look like that anymore. This was I took a pose of the in-game bee to get things right. Let me turn off the text. And then that ended up becoming this, which I think looks a lot better on a medium grey background. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to paint. I really wanted the hands to come out like that. I might even redo this hand. I really hate that. But yeah, it's a whole bunch of fun to paint. Yeah, like I said, never really done anything like it. Really happy with how it came out. I never really painted anything like the crunch text here either. Which is meant to kind of look all lumpy and stuff. It's not super amazing, but it does exactly what I need it to do, and that's the main thing. It's a screenshot that I was originally painting everything in front of. If I turn the pollen on, you can see that's glowing there, which is nice. I guess all the other assets are 3D, so let's fire up Blender and have a look at those. Yoink. Open. So we've got the bee, which is this. Let me hide that. The bee's fully rigged, so I can like move the wings. I would like to do like a wing animation. Can kind of do these things as well. All the legs are properly rigged, so you can move the legs around. Can move the head. Yeah, so there's like, that's kind of handy. And then no, just put me back in object mode. There we go. This box here is the bounding box for the bee. So when I was talking about taking the back off, I was thinking of just shifting that up like that, right in, and that's how much space your bee takes up. And maybe even maybe even shrinking that in a bit as well, just so that your wings don't clip. You only got this little area to worry about. Yeah, I might even save that, you know. Okay, I guess I can get away with we're shifting that up too. Yeah, I like that better. So I'll save that and I'll export it again later. Oh yeah, this was the this was the pose that I did for the bee. I wasn't really paying attention to where I aligned it. But yeah, I can't even get it back in the spot that it was in when I took the screenshot. Something like that, I guess. No, I don't know. I don't really want to monetize my streams. I feel like there's other stuff that oh hello, we got some flickering going on. Let me sort that out. There are other things that I do that I want to be the thing that I monetize. I don't know if OBS will cope with that. OBS might die. Did OBS die? No, it seems happy. Good. Yeah, like I do other things that I monetize, and I want to use the streams to signal boost that rather than monetizing streams. So that's how that kind of turned out. Oh, this is the original flower. Let's hide the thing here. It's just a bunch of petals and a bit of pollen in the middle. Pollen doesn't have any back on it, so you can see through it. Good times. The petals are just this one petal here, which is repeated a bunch of times. I didn't hate this flower, but Miriam said it was too plain, and I was like, okay, well, and it didn't rotate either. Like it just rotated around the vertical axis, just like spin on the spot, as opposed to rotating like this, like the other flowers do. So let's open up that other flower. Flower 1. Here we go. So basically I just elongated the petals, shrunk the pollen down, and then added the stem on, which is just that. And yeah, I like that. I think it's got a cool look to it. A bit more exciting, a bit more interesting than the other one. The hexagons look like this. Wait a minute, what's going on? Yeah, let's turn the collider off. There we go. That's the hexagon. So they spin around like this. Whee. Like this, even. Whee. Yeah, I think they're kind of cool. And then the collider for it is. Let me select the collider. The collider for it is actually slightly smaller than the thing itself. So again, giving you just that little bit more room. My mouse wheel is glitching out. Give you a little bit more room to slip in between them without breaking yourself. And then the pollen's just a circle. It's a little sphere with a big hitbox. Yeah, just little pollens. There it is. Good times. And I mean, like, that's it. That's all there is in the game. That's everything. Aside from the sounds, I guess. Yeah. Good times. And it kind of shows that, you know, you can... Oh, it's my desktop background now too. Isn't that cool? You know, you don't need to need a lot of things to make a cool little game. At least that's how I feel. It's not that hard to slap together the assets that you need, as long as you got like something to use them for. All right, one more go of the game. Here is the source code, which has like almost every line is commented and talks about what it's doing and why it's doing it. So if you've not used Godot before and you want to learn how to use it, you can do that. So I think if I go full screen now and then new game, no. I need to start a new game after going full screen. Before the stage thing will behave. I guess I could create the stage thing on the fly and grab the position for it then. Should probably make more sense. You dig the music? Yeah, actually I'll show you the other music that I was considering as well. Oh, there you go. There's those bits visible on the edge of the screen where they're not meant to be. Yeah, here we go. So, music. There are a couple of other Kevin MacLeod tracks that I was considering. There's this one called Take a Chance. That's it. This is what I would have used if I had a longer version. This is like really bombastic and really big, and I love that about it. Like that is the initial tone that I would love to set with the game if I was making new. If I was making a bigger version of this game and commissioning actual music, I'd be leaning towards something bigger like that, because that's the atmosphere I want to have. But I'm happy with what it came out, and this is the other one I was thinking about. They're cool. I dig them. Yeah, but so in my eyes, Honeycomb Crunch is silly, and exaggerated in a lot of aspects. In terms of like difficulty and stuff. But I also like that the music they ended up using is hang on, let me turn that back up. Goink. The music they end up using is kind of relaxing and sort of sits in the background a lot without making things more tense than the game already is. Yeah. But no, I think that first one that's really short, the amount of work I'd have to put into like editing it together into a longer version was like just not worth it. But if it had a longer version, I would have used that, because that fits with my with what the game is in my mind. But that's the other thing is like as I was saying before, like you have ideas at the beginning, and that stuff changes over time. As you get to know the project and as the project takes on an identity of its own. But I think this game definitely has room for, like, if it was a bigger game, it would have room for multiple music tracks. And yeah, I could see the like the underwater ocean track having like a very different feel to the to this sort of autumn sky background, like, yeah. Whee! So I think I missed a question from Brune, who was asking how Godot compares to other engines that I've used. And I think in terms of like, general purpose engines that are designed to be used for or played with used for any kind of game sort of thing. These sort of general purpose engines that you can make anything with. It's probably my favorite to use. I don't really enjoy using Unity very much, and tend to avoid it for my own projects. But I also write a lot of my own tech for some projects as well. Like Icicle is the engine that I'm writing for Winter's Wake, and like the Array team, which MJ Brune in chat here started long before I came on the scene. That has its own engine that's built using SFML. Hidden Star uses SDL in the same kind of way. A couple other things, but yeah, no, I still think that I'm kind of glad to be using Godot, and I'm glad to be using I don't know what I'm saying. I'm enjoying using Godot, both for little projects like this and Honeycomb and Hive Time, but I'm also planning to use it for my next big project after Winter's Wake ships. Yeah. Now let me just see if there's anything else that I missed. Buck Bumble. I have not heard of Buck Bumble. I will we'll check that out after I'm done streaming. My next big project, I haven't really talked much about it, but it's going to be a bridge builder game. With dinosaurs in it, which is exciting. I love dinosaurs. Why not? Making bridges for trucks and cars is boring. Making bridges for dinosaurs is where it's at. But yeah, after Winter's Wake ships, that's a project that I want to adopt as my next main focus. That and a VR game about butterflies. Yeah, those two. I think both of those are going to come together fairly quickly. But yeah, hopefully I'll be in a position to make a start on those this year. Will it have feathered dinosaurs? Maybe. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. What kind of look and feel I'm going to have for dinosaurs. That's something there's a guy that I want to work with. His name is Kednar. I've worked with him previously on another game with dinosaurs in it, which I made for Adventure Jam one year. He and I are gonna sit down and brainstorm what that's gonna look like, and we'll come up with some solid art direction. But the project's still a little way off from doing that, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah, the one where you're a dinosaur farrier and you make shoes for dinosaurs or care for dinosaurs' feet. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna wrap this stream up. This is sort of my last Honeycomb Crunch thing that I'm doing, I think. And then I'm gonna switch back onto Hive Time development. Oh, hello. Where's my camera? I'm not even here. Oh, let's just get back here. Hey, hello. Game? Hello? Oh. Where was the one set up? Oh, yeah, there it is. I'm like, I had one set up with everything. Yeah, so I'm gonna switch gears back to focus on Honeycomb Crunch, back to switch focus on, gonna switch focus back onto Hive Time, from this afternoon onwards. And I don't think I'll get a build out today, maybe tomorrow. But yeah, next build should have main menus and other stuff starting to like push settings in and things. But yeah, lots of bees. It's pretty normal if you look back through my project history. It's pretty normal for any major project to have like a side project that's small and related in some way. So I did. Let me just turn you down. I did Super Happy Fun Sun. I did the prototype of that for the last jam that I did with Mim, and then after that, I needed a small project to use as an example and as part of a talk, and so I made Tiny Chopper Raceway. Alongside that, when I first started working on Icicle and made the first Winter's Wake demo, I also made another small game that uses some of the same kind of techniques, but it actually has 3D graphics called Hover Drive, where you like drive around a little radio-controlled hovercraft. Yeah, it's normal for me to make little side projects and open source them, and sometimes they end up reusing the same assets or reusing the same themes. So it's cool to have this little bee friend having a double life, I guess. Double mileage out of that out of that bee. But alright, well, I'm gonna get back to work. I will see you guys another time. I'm not sure when I'm gonna stream next. Depending upon how Hive Time development goes over the next few weeks, I either will stream another kind of like updated, just do another dev stream of that, talking about how the project's progressed since last time I streamed it, or I will, if things are quieter, then I will try and get back into doing daily challenges. But other than that, take care, and I will see you when I see you. Thanks for watching.